The way public clarification works is you come and you ask questions about what was deliberated here on our agenda tonight, and we can provide clarification. If we haven't decided something already, then we can't talk about that. But
My name's John Brown-Selwyn. I live here in Westview. So I got a few questions. Number one, has the city checked with its insurance policy to see that having this use of Dwight Hall will not require a rider? Second question is, they keep talking about how are you going to get these people out to the town site when they all stay in Westview area? Are you using city buses? If it is a temporary thing, every time you call a bus driver, it'll be time and a half, as well will the bus. Buses are not cheap to run. I'm sure you'll be billed over $100 an hour. The other one Councillor Doubt said is if we need security, we will pay for it. Well, we don't have enough money to buy a burger in this city. And the other thing too, the fire chief said, if you want people to go and inspect it, they will should be separate from the duty guys, so they will be on overtime as well. So where's all the money coming for all this? Did we just find a pot of gold?
So I'm gonna make an attempt to answer your questions, John. Oh, okay.
First of all, the city is not responsible for this. Lyft is. And after checking their financials, they're quite wealthy. I'll be darned, eh? They just bought a building at the bottom of the hill and they're leasing out part of it. So the contract is between the government and Lyft. The city could help providing, if they can, a location. They should not bear any of the expenses of operating that location.
So I'm going to do my best to answer the questions and then defer to staff for answers that I don't have. The report indicated that questions around transportation were still being investigated, so we don't have all the answers on that one yet. Yes, Lyft will get through the funding they get from BC Housing, be responsible for paying for the facility, and is part of their plan that they submit to the government and get funded. The city's only commitment at this point in time with anything that we've done was to look at spaces that could be leased to the provider and not cost us additional budget other than staff time to try to organize that. So I'm going to defer to staff about whether we have information about insurance.
Through the chair to answer the individual with the question. So yes, city staff have reached out to our insurer and we're waiting to hear back to understand what the impact is to our general insurance. And ideally that is information that I could also provide for council on Thursday night.
Thank you very much. So
so the other thing that I noticed in the middle of the meeting, when you were talking about operating this cold weather thing, the question was, Lyft will staff it if, and that's a big if, they have staff.
Well, it wouldn't open if they didn't.
It wouldn't open? So,
yeah. If they had no staff, they would not open.
Okay. So then,
so yeah.
What's the point of having it?
Well, they're gonna.
If they can't guarantee staff, they're responsible.
The point is we're trying to save lives, John. The point is we're trying to save lives. That's the point.
The point is that the people that are supposed to be doing it Lyft aren't. We are as a city.
So the provincial government does that side of things through their planning and whatnot. We haven't taken that on, and so I don't have answers for you because I don't do that part. But the point of us trying to make space available was because we don't want people to freeze to death.
I understand that.
Okay, so that's my answer.
I understand that a while back when they were doing this new housing project up by the police station, council put in a request with Lyft to have security. Lyft did not say they would provide security. But what makes you think they'll provide anything for Dwight Hall?
So we are talking about the Dwight Hall, and I think the question was already asked and answered, and Lyft was going to provide staff for the facility and not security. So that was already answered. Yeah, that's a good question. And it's not on the table. It's not on the table as a motion at this point. So I have no answer for you because we haven't answered those questions yet.
To stay, go ahead to negotiate stuff. You don't have all the details worked out. Like
Yes.
going to something and saying, "Oh, we're going to do this." Well, how are we doing it? I don't know.
Yes. So we have limited our role to just providing space at this point, and we're trying to work with the partners to prevent death.
That's not what council has been saying. It's saying they'll provide transportation, they'll provide security necessary. They will have firemen go by and check on it. Providing staff time.
So all of those questions were answered during the meeting, and most of the answers were no to any of that, and it would require further direction from council to make that happen, and we haven't provided that further direction. So exploring options, having questions answered, and that kind of thing is part of our process. It doesn't mean it's happening.
The reason a lot of people came here, according to what we've been reading, council approved the use of Dwight Hall. So they approved the use of Dwight Hall without doing their work, figure out how it will work.
You've been here with me tonight. The press. Yeah, we're not over. I just wanted to recognize the press, and I should have done so at the beginning, and thank you so much for your patience.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity to ask questions. I'm really not sure of the logistics of how this would work in terms of lift operating in a city facility. Would the city essentially hand over the keys to the facility to lift and let them operate it, or would there be staff time involved in opening and closing the facility in extreme weather conditions?
I don't actually know that answer. Do we have an answer for that, staff?
Through the chair, the regular process for utilizing Dwight Hall is when it is being utilized, rented, leased, the user will come and get a key the day that it's being used. So the trigger of the cold weather or emergency weather would trigger, then someone from Lyft could come access the keys from the city, and then they would have the keys like any other renter or leaser.
I thank the director for the response. My other question is, who would be responsible if any damage was done to the facilities? Would the person or the body leasing the facility be responsible, or would the city have to bear that one?
Through the chair, the user group would be responsible.
I thank the director for that response. Thanks for the opportunity, Chair, to ask some questions.
Okay. Does anyone else present wish to ask a question? Please introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name is Carolyn Jackson. I had a few questions. Was Cranberry School Gym ever considered, as I heard the private owner offered it, but they were told no because they had Dwight Hall?
So it isn't a city facility, so we in the city wouldn't have had jurisdiction to consider other locations that are not ours. If Lyft had considered that, we weren't part of it.
So would council reconsider if they knew there was a private enterprise that was willing to offer their building instead of using Dwight Hall?
So there are avenues where that could have happened. I don't know how promising that space was or whether it was ruled out for other reasons. And I wasn't part of that conversation, so I can't specifically answer the question. And I don't believe any of our staff were either. So I think that you're talking about an opportunity that exists outside of our knowledge, so we can't speak to it.
So does Lyft let council know what opportunities they've been offered?
Not necessarily.
So council doesn't ask?
So we've had some conversations along the way, and we are aware of talking through BC Housing, a bunch of opportunities throughout the entire summer that were looked at. I'm not aware of one recently being discussed. And so it could be any number of reasons that they decided that was not a good opportunity. So I don't know.
So has the fire chief given occupancy for the emergency weather shelter to be submitted in the emergency response plan?
Do we have an answer for that, staff?
Through the chair to the chair, my understanding is that the fire chief has not given occupancy, so I'm not clear on the requirement in the EWR plan. That would have to be a conversation with LIFT to understand if that was true. My eyes on the plan itself, I don't recall seeing any reference to it, so I'm not clear, but we have had the fire chief since look at that space, and as you heard tonight, he has a professional opinion as it relates to both Dwight Hall and the Wildwood Fire Hall as well.
Okay, so just to clarify, you don't believe that that's necessary, that step for getting occupancy permit from the fire hall, and the opinions that we have so far are that they both are suitable.
I will state that and say that I'm not clear on what the requirement was for BC Housing to accept a plan, and that I would need to verify before I commented on that.
Okay, thank you so much.
So then I think I heard the fire chief say that they could not have cots. So it's just space in both.
I would ask the fire chief to clarify what he said.
Chair to committee. We were under the impression there was no cots or beds involved in the site. There would be chairs for people to come in, and I mean they'll nap in there, but again it's just chairs. It reduces the beds would reduce the occupancy. If you're talking about chairs and tables, it's about 15 square foot per person, and that specific area can hold about 100 people. We're talking, I think what I was told was 20, so there's more than enough room. If that answers your.
Through the chair, if I can just clarify. So there is a need for, I think what LIFT is proposing are mats, not cots, but mats, so that people can sleep. But I still believe in talking with the fire chief that would meet the requirement for the occupancy. But again, that if we're shifting to Wildwood, I think we'll have a keen eye on that site in the very near future as well.
Yep. Okay. Does that help, Carolyn? Oh, it doesn't. Okay.
Instead of using a city bus, LIFT does have a passenger van. Just a comment, I guess. And I'm not quite sure what services are being utilized between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. that it matters if it's in Westview, Townsite, or Wildwood. If they need 911, it goes everywhere. Do you know of any services that?
That's my understanding is similar to yours. If someone needs 911, it goes all
anywhere.
Places.
I'm just curious what other services when everyone says post of services for emergency weather shelter.
It looks like Councillor Isaacson would like to weigh in on that one.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think what people meant was like before they come to the extreme weather response shelter or after the morning when it closes to get to their other services, whatever it be, most of those services or places where they might congregate are in Westview. And so it's not in the middle of the night, it's before and after, and therefore transporting people between Westview and Dwight Hall.
Okay, so a bus would suffice. And then my last question was the contract that people have to sign to rent the hall upstairs says that no drugs. So would there be body searches before people went inside downstairs?
I don't have an answer for that. It would be part of the plan, I guess.
Don't have an answer for that either, if that's how LIFT operates.
Sorry, we don't have an answer for that at this time.
So then does city enforce our contracts? And who in the city would enforce that contract upstairs? Would that mean they would enforce it downstairs? So staff would have to stand at the door to do the contract enforcement?
So I would ask staff to tell me how we would enforce that in all cases of our agreements.
We don't, through the chair, we never have staff enforcing that. We have user groups, whomever they are, wherever they're renting, sign off on that. And should there be an incident where they are shown to be going against what they've signed for, then they're liable.
Dwight Hall's burnt down. Okay, thanks.
Do I have anybody else present who'd like to ask a question? Oh, we have someone online? Okay. So for the person online, make sure you turn off your video sound feedback before you start speaking from your device. Anyway, online, go ahead.
Hi, Council. I was wondering if anybody considered the fact that the Wildwood Fire Hall is right across from a school and the potential implications of the homeless being right across from the school.
So we have not in this night talked about that subject, but we are speaking of a time frame between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. and only during an extreme weather period. So there is a lot of need to prevent people from dying. Our locations are limited, and there doesn't appear to be a time overlap between school activities and this extreme weather shelter. But if anybody else has a better answer for that, I would ask staff, do they have anything to contribute to that question?
Through the chair to the chair, just point out that it was included as one of the factors considering the value of Dwight Hall over the Wildwood Fire Hall, is that it is further away from schools and residential properties.
Right. Yes, it was in the report. Thank you so much for your question. Does anyone else present have a question for this item? Come forward to the mic and introduce yourself.
Again, South Townside. We keep hearing the terms deaths and being thrown around here almost flippantly. Do we have any data or statistics on deaths that have occurred?
Do we have any specific data at this point in time about deaths that might occur in extreme weather circumstances?
Through the chair, no, the city doesn't keep that sort of data.
So no, we don't have an answer to that for you.
It's come up about 40 times, and we've had a pre-populated email from Councillor Southcott about how important this is. So if Lyft is short-staffed, Chair, you said that they just won't open up. Is that correct?
Yeah, they would make best efforts to have the right staff to run the extreme weather shelter. And should they not have staff, it won't open.
So then the deaths would just go away because of Lyft's staffing issues and their current dereliction of the $8.1 million they received. Is that
if they don't open and we have an extreme weather shelter and somebody is outside and not warm and dies, then the entire system has failed that person.
Absolutely. That's failure is actually a common theme. So as it's not a municipal jurisdiction, we're basically doing this out of the goodness of our hearts. The United Church did have a successful warming center last year, and the province wasn't able to approve it. Would council, oh, sorry, Chair, would city be able to provide them with a stipend if they were to open their doors to help people out? Without any administration, without any bureaucracy, without any damage to city facilities, if that were to happen and they were willing, which they were last year, is there any way to allow them to have a little bit of operating funds?
So all of the community members that are doing things through dedicating their time, their space, are eligible to apply for grants in kind, both here at the city and at the regional district governments provide grants to community organizations for those types of things. Usually we require nonprofits and they need to be kind of organized and knowing what they're doing ahead of time. But as I understand it, the United Church had a number of things to say about what they could and couldn't do based on rules and regulations. And so those are the answers I have at this point in time. And so it isn't our jurisdiction to try to make anybody do anything, but we would definitely accept applications for grants in kind for societies within the community who are trying to provide these services.
So if this is a provincial jurisdiction, why aren't we staying in our lane?
I think leasing city lands for things that are of benefit to our community is our lane, but we're not running the shelter. Councillor Isaacson would like to speak to you as well.
Yeah, thank you. Just to add a little bit more context about the United Church space last year, it was only available as a warming center on Friday and Saturday nights. There's a daycare operator in the basement, and so in order to maintain good relationship with the daycare operator, I think they focused on providing that service on Friday and Saturday night. The space above the library was used as warming center the other nights when that came into play, and those spaces have now been leased, and so that opportunity no longer exists. But as Councillor Elliott said, working outside of the BC housing system to operate warming centers is definitely something that is in the capacity of community groups to do if their zoning allows for it. But we can't compel groups to do that. Thank you.
There have been a number of groups that have actually approached, and for bureaucratic or administrative reasons, they weren't approved. Is there any variances or ways to maybe allow for that if it's such a extreme emergency?
It's not really our jurisdiction to say that, and as you say, we're able to manage our own facilities. We're able to provide grants in kind. We're not in charge of the province's response to homelessness.
So should we maybe let them take the lead on it versus municipality?
Yeah, we've been trying. Anyway, I think that those are your questions. Go ahead, Councillor Southcott.
If you read the webpage on this whole program that's on the province's website, it indicates the expectation of municipalities basically to coordinate, something like what we actually have been doing here. Through legislation, particularly the community charter, there is provision for us to do this, but it has to basically be our initiative, which it is. Many communities have stepped in and taken initiative, particularly larger ones. Okay, that's the one thing I wanted to comment on. So we're not stepping outside of our jurisdiction from that standpoint. Actually, this is the way I read that. Number two, regarding deaths, statistics on deaths, you cannot get them. Because of the confidentiality, the personal information that's involved, and especially in a community our size, you won't even get any kind of fresh numbers. If you do get numbers, regardless of who you are in this community. Now, there are some agencies that will have numbers, but it's the personal information that restricts the rest of us from knowing about that, because we know when people in this community, there is knowledge of deaths, right? I was in a business where I had to keep information like that as ambulance confidential, and that is still the case. And so is it the case with the advisory group that LIFT basically oversees, called the Community Action Team, which is a consolidation of a whole lot of different local organizations. Some information is provided there, but it has to be maintained confidentially. So I can say, yes, that does happen, but the information can't be provided.
It's a fairly emotionally charged statement.
Yeah, I know. I regret that comment.
You should have some data, because it sounds like we're using fear to force people
Bad idea.
into a decision that they're not necessarily comfortable with. I don't even think you guys are comfortable with using Dwight Hall. I mean, let's be honest. I read the room here. I know nobody else here is. Is there anybody? There's a better plan, and Councillor Palm and Mayor Wasnow, very, very much respect for listening to your constituents.
Thank you for your questions. Do we have anyone else who wishes to ask a question?
Okay, I just would like a little bit of clarification from the chief, I think, with regards to sleeping accommodation in both facilities, like the fire hall versus Dwight Hall. I'm under the understanding that you have to have specific, I understand Dwight Hall has sprinkler systems, but for sleeping accommodation, they require other fire alarms or smoke alarms. Otherwise, they would have to have staff, what they call fire watch staff. And I don't know how many people that would be and who would pay for that. Would the taxpayers be paying for that, or would Lyft be paying for that? And also to the doors, with regards to the doors in the Dwight Hall, they would have to be modified as panic doors, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think they are, they don't have panic doors now. So I'm wondering, as far as the fire hall goes, it has it has actually 3 exits. It has a brand new furnace in it. It has accommodations for people to probably be better accommodations for people to sleep there overnight. And all they have to do again is they would still have to retrofit 2 doors. They would have to retrofit, have the smoke and fire alarm system in there. For sleeping quarters, you cannot have people, and correct me if I'm wrong or clarify this for me, you cannot have people in sleeping in a facility without specific fire alarms in it. So, you know, and are you gonna, this is, you know, Dwight Hall is a historic building, and we're going to spend thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars in retrofitting a building to do this for 1 year, when we could actually have something like the fire hall that we could retrofit and use it year after year after year after year.
Thank you for your question, Ms. Sparks. Maybe I let our fire chief respond.
Through the chair and committee. Both buildings have alarm systems. This Dwight Hall is sprinklered and does not have smoke alarms. The fire hall does not have sprinklers, but it does have smoke alarms and a fire alarm system. So for Dwight Hall, its use is assembly, and without the beds and the mats or chairs, it meets that criteria for assembly. So the use of the building code use is not changing. It's remaining the same.
If there are mats involved with people lying down on them, does that change anything?
No, that it's the actual bed or the cot and the ability for people to get around it. Whereas if they're mats, they can just walk over them. So it's that ability too. So as I said previously, the spacing was based on less than 15 square feet per person, which includes a table and a chair. So the building, the space is designed for a lot more than what they're asking for. I haven't looked at the fire hall. It is, again, a city facility. Our staff are professionals and they look after the facilities quite well. It is alarmed. It is has the right amount of extinguishers. And it is, because of a recent renovation, does have the exit doors with the panic hardware.
Thank you so much, Chief.
Sorry if I can, just the doors on Dwight Hall, because there has been no change of occupancy. There has been no need to update the panic hardware on the exterior doors, but they are double doors that fold out.
Yes, and as part of your question, you were talking about whether the city or taxpayers were going to be paying for retrofits for this purpose. The answer is no. I don't believe so. Councillor Palm, are you trying to provide more to the answer?
Clarifying question the chief had to say. Appreciate the information. Now, You refer to mats are fine in Dwight Hall, but would cots be allowed in the fire hall? Wildwood.
Oh,
Matt.
I'm not prepared to answer that just because I don't know what the occupancy is at this point. It's classified as a fire hall, but it's no longer a fire hall, so it'd be classified as something else. So I don't have that information in front of me.
We get that answer
Yeah.
by Thursday?
You bet.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Do you want to ask a question, Roger?
Hello, Your Worship, Chair, and Council. So 3 questions. Are you aware WCB keeps statistics on both heat and cold deaths? 10 years as a safety manager for different companies. Those kinds of things come across the desk all the time. And are you aware that heat is the problem, not cold? Heat kills more people than cold. Those were the actual death numbers. Are you aware that during the time that they had the bicycle races here, how many people showed up? I can't remember. Thousands, lots. And there was portable washrooms, portable offices. They're all rentable at just a phone call. And they will arrive here, stay for the 6 weeks, and then send them back to wherever. They could park them right next to the hospital. And those kinds of facilities are available simply with a phone call. And the bicycle race showed that year after year after year, that almost royal facilities are available. Certainly premier facilities for very little money. And the third question is the city receiving any remuneration for the rental of this, what's actually the former Mason's Hall? You know, it's no longer the library, it's the Mason's Hall. Are they receiving remuneration for that space? If it gets used as a cold shelter or a warm shelter, whatever it's called, emergency weather?
I'm going to direct your question to staff about the remuneration.
Through the chair, if I might, it's just a point of clarification. So the former library, as far as I understand, is not the Mason's Hall. So different spaces, not the Mason's Hall.
Can't hear a word.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah, so it's 2 separate spaces, not the Mason's Hall. The former library are separate spaces. Yeah, I want to make that clear because I think there's some misinformation circling around. As it's currently stated in the license of occupation, the use of the space would be funded through grant and aid. The city was not trying to make money on the use of this space from LIFT. It was identified as an opportunity for the city through grant and aid to have LIFT utilize that space at a time where we were not renting that space out. There was no loss of revenue for that particular space.
No is the short answer. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. Is anyone else planning to ask a question? Then I would consider us adjourned.